What's on the docket today? What will we document?
Hello and welcome to Doll Doc and part 2 of my Disney Atlantis inspired doll. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, I'll leave a link in the description below. Today I will be showing you how I made her spear, mask, and what Zora has been hiding.
Let's start doctoring.
Let's start with the spear. I sketched out the shape, modifying mine a bit from the one in the movie. I have a ton of note cards left over from school, so I put them to good use as a base. I glued several together and cut them out once dry. To strengthen the blade and give it more form, I applied a layer of epoxy sculpt and secured the blade to the staff with more. For the staff, I used an upcycled straw. When the epoxy sculpt had cured, I used my Dremel tool to shape the blade more and give it some texture. Now we need a magnet buddy for the one we placed in Zora's hand. To strengthen the straw, I added hot glue inside and let it cool before adding the magnet to the drilled hole. Now I paint the staff, doing one coat of paint, then a layer of hard coat Mod Podge, then repeat. Now to make the gray epoxy sculpt a little darker gray. In the movie, the spear has gold accents, so in the places I wrapped twine, I painted it gold. I also added a tuft of white brushed yarn to the end. Her mask needed to be lightweight, so I pulled out some more note cards. I went through a couple of designs before choosing a final, then I sketched out the facial features. The masks in Atlantis are huge! They almost cover the characters' entire bodies, so I tried making mine as large as I could, but still making sure to keep it lightweight so it could be held up by the magnets. With the facial features built up and the eyes and mouth cut out, I moved on to add a lip around the edges. This will be where I glue the yarn later. Using a Spray Monster high doll, I measured where I would place the magnets and where the chin of the doll came to. I wanted the forehead piece to be raised so it would keep the mask from rubbing her face too much. I bought some LED light strands to light up the eyes and mouth. With pieces of straw, I created a path for the light strands. That way, it wasn't just some tangled mess under the mask. I wanted the eyes and mouth to glow, not blind. So I used hot glue like I had for her crystal necklace. While it's hardening, I used epoxy sculpt to make the mask features more 3D. Now for some color. I went with the dark blue, gold, and maroon. After painting the blue, I needed to prime the features white. I used the same blue marker on the eyes and mouth as I did on her crystal. Once the paint was dried, I sealed it with Mod Podge, but this turned out to have too much gloss, so I sprayed the mask with a layer of Mr. Super Clear. Now to restring the lights and glue the battery pack in place. I glued brush yarn directly onto the outside border of the mask and give it a trim. Now the piece I've been waiting for, what Zora was hiding. There's a scene in Atlantis where Kita shows Milo a machine that the Atlanteans used to use to travel. So I wanted to create one for Zora. This needed to be lightweight, so for the majority of the structure I used air dry paper clay. In the beginning I wanted this prop to be posable, but I think it turned out too heavy or I didn't use strong enough elastic. With my go-to epoxy sculpt, I added on more detail. This was my first time working with paper clay, and luckily I wanted this air/sea craft to look like it had sea battle, because my paper clay sculpting definitely wasn't smooth. I added some epoxy sculpt to the seat piece. This is where the crystal ignition will go. With a hand drill, I made holes for the elastic. I added some picture hanging hardware to the tail for the elastic to loop through. I didn't want to lose where my holes were when I painted the pieces, so I thread each part with floral wire to help prevent that. The eyes would be getting lighting as well, so I carved out the centers with my Dremel. I also carved out the crystal ignition design as well. Now where to put the battery pack. Originally I was going to have it on the bottom, but I decided I wanted the switch closer to the ignition, so I carved out another slot. This now gave me room for a hole for the stand. This way she looks like she'll be flying through the air. Time to bust out the Dremel again. I should have been wearing gloves. Luckily my skin was okay, but I don't advise chancing it. I did wear a mask anytime I was sanding though. Some more fin detail, and while these cure, I found the perfect eyes. Marbles! These have been in my craft drawer for a while. Let me know below what items you like using for crafting that others might not see as craft supplies. I love upcycling all sorts of random objects. A little modification with the Dremel tool, and now to string it together. I used the floral wire more as a makeshift needle to thread the elastic through the pieces. I'm not going into too much detail on the stringing process because in the end the sculpture didn't keep any poses for long, so I ended up gluing some of the parts together. One part that was too heavy were the side fins, so I took everything apart and shaved down the side pieces. Something else I wanted to change was the color. This gray felt too flat, so I taped off the eyes and gave each piece a coat of a soft iron finish spray paint. Let's add some glow paint to the ignition pad. I try stringing it together once more and even try adding some magnets, Then I finally resigned to just some blue. And Zora's props are complete. I really enjoyed adding lights to these pieces. Maybe in the future I'll learn to solder, that way I can create some more custom circuits. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you aren't already, please subscribe and turn on the notification bells. Next week's doll is going to be magical. Thanks for watching!